started. All right, so you ready?
Yeah.
Say a little bit about yourself. Like, my name is.
My name is Emerson, and this is my 43rd year of teaching, and about 21 or 2 are here in Nokomis.
I'm gonna ask you some questions about the 70s.
About the 70s.
Yeah. How old were you in 1970?
I was 21 years of age. It was my first year teaching, the fall of 1970.
Where did you live during the 70s?
I lived in Charleston, Maine.
What was your reaction to the Nixon election?
The election?
Yes.
I don't think I voted for him, but he was elected.
Why didn't you vote for President Nixon?
I'm a registered Democrat, and he just didn't fire me up.
No.
No. More like a used car salesman.
Oh yeah. What did you think about the oil embargo, the oil and gas crisis?
Oh, that was. I had a small vehicle, so I wasn't a huge gasoline consumer, but there were lines, and we did have to wait our turn. And the next step, I think, after, if the waiting in line hadn't worked out well, I think they were going to go to whether your license plate ended in an odd or even number. And if it ended in an odd number, you could gas up on a Monday and a Wednesday, and an even. No, it was really different. It was weird. But in our area, in the Charleston, Bangor area, it worked out fine. So that there wasn't any big deal.
Mm-hmm.
It's much more serious today than it was then.
How so?
Gasoline is so much more expensive today. It was $1 something then in the 70s, and that was high.
Mm.
But it
Now
was
it's
only $1
higher.
and $1.25 maybe, or something like that.
Mm. Why do you think President Nixon resigned?
Because he was a crook.
Why do you say that? Never heard that one before.
Nixon,
Yeah.
with the Watergate and the Watergate tapes,
Elaborate.
he and Alderman, one of his right-hand men, and there was probably 3 or 4 guys, and they hired. They were concerned that they were going to lose the election, the original election when he was elected. They hired a bunch of thugs to break into the Democratic headquarters to steal information. The name of the hotel, the hotel was Watergate. That's where it got its name. And they broke in and got the information. He did get elected, but then it started to unravel, and he finally resigned. And the last picture I remember seeing of him, he was walking out of the White House over to the helicopter, and he walked up the stairs to the helicopter and turned and gave everyone the peace sign with both hands. He didn't think he was a crook, but the Watergate tapes and the testimony of John Dean, one of his right-hand men, proved otherwise.
And why did the Beatles break up, do you think?
I think the Beatles broke up primarily because John Lennon and George Harrison, they both were, they both thought a bit differently than Paul McCartney or Ringo Starr. Ringo Starr, the drummer, he was going to float with wherever he was going to get the most bucks. I mean, he was getting good. He was getting good press anyway, so he was all right. McCartney was a songwriter. The other two guys, Harrison and Lennon, were songwriters too, but of a different depth. So I think they broke up just to allow people to pursue their own career, if you will.
What'd you think of Elvis?
Elvis Presley, such an interesting man and a great talent, and once again, the drugs did him in. Yeah, but I enjoyed Elvis. He was a good actor. He was an adequate actor, but a pretty good singer and a good entertainer.
Were drugs a problem in the 70s?
Yes.
On a scale of 1 to 10?
In the 70s?
Yes.
Depending on whether it was the beginning or middle, and regionally where. Out on the West Coast, I would say 10. On the East Coast, in Maine, where I lived, maybe a 3 or a 4. But yeah, drugs were
an issue.
An issue.
What did Nixon do while in office, aside from the Watergate?
What did Nixon do while he was in office? Oh, there is a couple of things I cannot remember, but I know that there were a couple of things that are given to his credit. I think something to do with foreign trade, but I really can't remember. He was not one of my favorite presidents, so I didn't really focus on him much. It was more like surviving the economy more than anything.
What was the economy like?
Kind of rocky, up and down. When I started teaching, my first year's salary was $6,800, and that was an okay salary back then, believe it or not. But things started to with the oil embargo and the oil prices, etc. Anytime oil goes up, everything else goes up too, because everything is either manufactured as an oil product or somehow connected to oil. So the economy wavered somewhat. Things became a little bit more expensive, but we managed. We made do.
Yeah. Well, that's going to sum it up for my questions.
Well, I appreciate you. You did a pretty good job interviewing. I like this.
And thank you.
You're welcome.